This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, miniatures, and paints, discount prices at miniaturemarket.com.
Hey everybody, it's your old pal Rob. I hope you are having a wonderful day. Boy, lately I seem like Negative Nelly, and just going on and on and on. But there's a lot of things that are very concerning here. You know, when you start looking at things as a whole, you start to scratch your head a little bit. Now, with GW, this has been a practice all the way through the 90s and into the new millennium here, with some of the stuff that they have done. Yet we always come back, of course. The superior models, gameplay's been lacking at certain things, but you touch on certain things and we have that nostalgia that we always have. Is this not the same thing that we're kind of going through with Final Fantasy? Is Final Fantasy becoming a junior version of GW, where the heck with their fans? I have never dealt with their public relations or anything like that, or you know, them on a board or anything like that, meaning a forum of some sort. And I don't know if they answer questions and stuff like that, and I'm not going to comment to that. But you can see a pattern here, okay, where they take things and they have completely just turned them around. Take, for instance, one of my favorite games of all time by one of my favorite designers of all time, Richard Launius. And how great was the original Arkham Horror? Yeah, it needed a polishing up and this, that, and the other. But are you really happy with what you got out of that edition, the newest edition? I ended up bringing it in here to take a look at because I felt that I needed to give it a fair shot. And I plan on doing it here on the channel. But from what I hear, it's completely different, and it just doesn't feel like the old Arkham Horror. People say it's too tedious. There's a lot of things, too many things going on, and a lot of rules that you got to get through. Thus, I've actually been watching Rolling Solo, trying to get it down a little bit before I even tackle the rule book. Hey, one-man show here. I gotta cut corners when I can. When you take a look at TI4, they gave you a new version, they gave you a decent expansion, and that's enough to pull you back in because they got it kind of right, and a lot of people love that. But listen, let's be honest, okay? How hard is it? I mean, that game has a decent sized niche, but getting 3 to 5 players together nowadays, it's kind of out there. Which leads me to their newest venture, which is Unfathomable. Now really think about this. This is a 3 to 6 player game that is coming out during a pandemic still. Listen, things are getting better. I don't want to get into the stupid political aspects of this whole baloney that's going on. But honestly, there's a lot of people that are still unsure of getting together in groups. And how well is this game? Is this game going to save Fantasy Flight? Not to mention Descent, okay? And I want to touch on this a little bit. That playthrough was a mess, okay? And it did not do that game any favors. As a matter of fact, I know a lot of stores have backed off their order on bringing this in because of the amount of disdain for the video, for the game, the app, which I don't have a problem with apps. I don't know where people think I have a problem with apps. But I want to touch on, if you're going to put an app to a game and increase the price and say, well, it's because of the apps. Listen, I can get 150 hours out of a Japanese role-playing game for 50 or 60 bucks. Okay? And they spent 5 years to develop it. Don't give me this app is the reason for a price increase. No. Not when it only costs you a certain amount of money to make these games, and the margin on these games are astronomical at times. Don't get me wrong. Nowadays, things have changed. I don't have that much of a pulse, but I do know that containers are very expensive to get things shipped over here. So that I can understand a price increase. But, I mean, let's be honest, okay? And I'm going to give that game a shot. Descent Legends in the Dark, I will be giving that game a shot because, number one, I think it was poorly presented, and until I have it in front of me and give it a run through, I am not going to sit here and throw my hands up in the air and go, no, I'm not going to play it, okay? I want to find out what it's really about. I want to get a feel for it, and if it's cumbersome and a mess, like it looks right now, then you know, at least I'll have a few playthroughs under my belt to come and tell you that. When I tell you it looks like it, doesn't mean it will be. So let's give it a fair shot. I'm somebody that likes to give a fair shot. But boy, to cancel the second edition when you could have still you could have cranked out expansions for that until the cows came home. Okay, and they're saying, well, it's not really a Descent. It's not Descent 3. Then why are you calling it Descent? All right, this is another time that they've done things like this. And now they're stopping production on certain games. There's been rumors, supposedly, of them doing another expansion for Journey into the Dark, which I just recently painted and I plan on doing here on the channel. But is this... Are we coming to a point, and when we look at everything, because they could pull some surprises before Gen Con that we don't know about and go, oh my God, Fantasy Flight's back, but it doesn't feel like it. They've dropped a lot of eggs, and you know, games like Marvel Champions, they're good. I mean, good, but there's nothing that they've come out with that you have stopped time with and that you said, wow, this is going to change everything. Arkham Horror living card game has been very good, and now that they're kind of redoing it or redoing the box set. And they came out and they re-released a lot of versions of the Lord of the Rings, which I was happy about. But it almost feels like they're going the route of GW, where they are a bigger company and they're just going to do what they do, and that's it. You know, there was a time when they used to have their play days up at their thing, and they would show off all kinds of different things. And there was a time where Fantasy Flight was an innovator, and they were ahead of everything, and you were just blown away by every single thing they'd done. Hey, I still got some of the stuff. Rune Wars, Runebound. You know, they took their own universe and done so many things. Geez, you know, I didn't mind the re-release of Battle Lore. Okay, I wish they kept up with the Horus Heresy. I'm looking up there, so you got to forgive me. Forbidden Stars, which they never did an expansion for, which kind of feels a little like Curse City at this moment. There are parallels between the two companies, and I just feel that if they keep going this path, they're not going to hang around the way a GW will. I think they'll really suffer and they'll hurt, even though they're backed by the mighty Asmodee, okay, or owned by the mighty Asmodee. There's going to come a point in a time when people are just going to throw their hands in the air and go, boy, I've had enough. I've had enough. I want my old Fantasy Flight back. And I think that's what happens a lot with us old timers, is that we remember the days of the first Descent, which I really liked. I really liked. Some people love it, some people hate it. It is what it is. You know, just like I liked Warhammer Fantasy, okay, the original. You know, not this menagerie that they come out with. You know, Age of Sigmar. You know, now in its third edition, its third incarnation. You know, there are things that you see where they just kind of just crank things out that almost feel kind of half done. That was never the way it was back with Fantasy Flight. They always put out a done project, whether you liked it or not, small game or big game. It was done. Expansions, you know, galore, things done very smart, and it seems like it's not there anymore. I don't know the inner workings. I don't know behind the scenes. I don't study these companies, but I call it as I see it, as a casual fan. Okay? I can have the site here. Do you think I've got inside stuff? I ain't got nothing. All right? I'm telling you straight up and being honest with you. Fantasy Flight wouldn't give this channel a second look. Either would GW. And that's okay. That's not what it's about. That's not why I'm talking. I would talk about it regardless. It just feels that it's slipping away. You know, the same thing with GW. It feels like it slips away, and it becomes something that is, you know, disheartening, because you remember the glory days of both companies. And you remember the excitement you had. Is it maybe my old age? Maybe the younger generation is excited. I can't answer that. Only you can. And put it in the comments in a polite manner instead of being snotty. Okay? You may disagree with me, but that's okay. If you do it constructively, I've got no problem with it. It's when people get a little chippy and take it personally, like you know. Like I went out back and you know, and shot up their 67 Corvette or something. You know, that's not what it is, okay? I'm calling what I see, and I see a company headed in the direction of a beloved company by so many of us, Games Workshop. And it seems like it's heading that way because it's controlled by another identity, where GW is controlled by stockholders now. It's not about the fans and what they want. Because if you listen to them, you would hear, hey, if you're going to do Descent, give us Descent 3. If you're going to, you know, discontinue Legion or all your Star Wars products, why, you know, why would you do that when we loved it? Why would you know, you cut up so many things and get away from so many things and just say, well, the heck with Mansions of Madness. We messed it up. We didn't leave it alone the way it was when we could have just added more different expansions. There are a lot of products that they are putting out that you're going to see, that you see on eBay, and nobody's buying them. And people are putting them up cheaper than usual. You know, how long before a lot of this stuff ends up in the bargain bin? You know, how good is the newest edition of Arkham Horror? Are there a lot of fans from it? I seem to hear a lot of complaints about it. That it's not as great as the original. Now listen, when you sat there and you played the original, you could at least play it solo. This Unfathomable that's coming out is a 3 to 6 player game. Okay? Eldritch Horror, you know, towards, you know, in the twilight there, at least it was solo, had a solo experience. You know, so many different things, and they seem to not be listening to their most important critic, their fans. Not people like me, their fans. And I hear a lot from their fans and how disappointed they are over the recent transgressions. There are people that love Marvel Champions. Dale the casual board gamer, loves that game, does a fantastic job with it. I buy stuff because he plays it so well. It's a good game, but how long can you go with that? Okay? All right, you got to have other things around it, and you got to be making sure that you do things right and play testing things and making sure that they... Some of these games don't feel play tested all the way through. At least that's my opinion. And, you know, could be said with a certain other company too. You know, the rules aren't there. It's more the flash and the gits of beautiful miniatures. I don't know. I would love to hear your comments on this and love to hear what you think. Please let me know what you think. Do you feel that Fantasy Flight is headed the Games Workshop way? All right. Are they going to be Games Workshop Junior? Another great company. Are we going to lose them to money? Which I understand, people have to make money. But you know how you make the most money? Is you make people happy. It's like wrestling, folks. If nobody's watching it and nobody's going to the arenas, it's not making money. You gotta put butts in seats. And the way that you do that is you send them home happy. Okay? You give them what they want. Even though they know it's fake, if you make them go, hey, some of this stuff was fake, but that was real. You make people believe. And if you can make people believe in you by doing and listening and giving your fans what they want, you'll be surprised how much money you'll make. Okay? And how loyal people will be. Okay? You keep both these companies keep their current status and how they're doing things. They're not gonna. You can make the biggest game in the world and put the biggest price tag on it. If people aren't buying it, and then you're not selling it. And if you're not selling it, you ain't making a profit. And if you ain't making profit, you're going to answer to some people. And that's for sure. You eventually lose all the loyal people if you keep sticking them. Okay? Do the right thing. Put the butts in the seats. Again, I would love to hear your comments and how you feel about this. And, you know, I think this is the last commentary for a while. Let's go play some games by people that want to sell and entertain you. And I think that's what we're going to do for sure. So I would love to hear your comments below. And until next time, it's your old pal Ron. We'll see you soon.